This is a song I wrote myself way back in 1967, and I was on the Texaco, New Jersey, and I missed it down in New Orleans. And it had all my clothes and a Gibson guitar, flat top, and so I was stranded. I missed it in Port Arthur, and it was on the weekend. It was on the 4th of July weekend, and everything was closed. Company office was closed. I couldn't get my pay, and I was just stuck and stranded, broke, and all the clothes I had was what I had on. And I messed around all weekend and got a job cleaning out a fishery, and when I got through I smelled like a dead shrimp, and so I hitchhiked into town and see if I could see where I could find a stay for the night, because it was getting kind of late. And I went down to the shrimp boat docks, and a guy told me I could sleep on his boat, and so I slept on there that night. And nobody there but me. He wasn't. He stayed at home. He didn't stay on his boat. And the next day, I was out and I went out to Sabine Pass. I hitchhiked out there, and I run into this guy that, well, first I got a job on a shrimp boat, and he told me to be there at 6 o'clock the next morning, or 5 o'clock. It was real early, and he was going to go fishing. I told him I had never been shrimp fishing. He said it didn't matter, so he showed me what I needed to know. So I was all set. And I was walking around, and it was hot, and there wasn't a shade nowhere. There wasn't a tree anywhere. Sabine Pass, and I was walking around. I was walking down the street, and this boy come along, and he said, "Hey boy, you play a guitar?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Come on over to the house. That we got a case of beer, and we played music." So I went with him, and we got over there, and his sister was a singer, and she was doing the singing, and he was too. He was a real good singer. He knew all the Merle Haggard songs that just come out, and or Buck Owens. I don't forget which one it was, and I think it was Buck Owens' song. And we got playing, and I played lead. He had electric guitar, so we decided that we was good enough to go set up downtown. And downtown ain't nothing but a couple of stores there at Sabine Pass, and one of them was a bar. And we set up in that bar and put the amplifier up in the window where everybody could hear it, and we started playing music. And it wasn't long till that whole little bar was so packed you couldn't even walk around in there. And that was way back before I sprouted a brain. And I got to drinking too much, and they took me down to the shrimp boat after the bar closed, and I got up the next morning, the captain wasn't there, and it was about 7 or 8 o'clock. I think, man, he must have not showed up. He must not be going. So I put on a pot of coffee, and about that time somebody stuck their head in and said, "What are you doing on my boat?" I said, "I got a job on this boat." He said, "No, you hadn't." He said, "This is my boat." He said, "Get off of here." So I got off and I looked at it, and I was on that was the Southern Cloud, and I had a job on the Southern Cross. And he must have thought I wasn't coming, and he took off without me. So I was in the same shape as I was the day before, except I felt really lousy. And so anyhow, I finally made it till Monday and or Tuesday. I don't forget what it was. The company office finally opened, and I got my pay. And I got me a job, a room at the Sabine Pass Hotel, and it wasn't but about a day after that, or maybe 2 days, I got a job on the Gulf King as an ordinary seaman. And I rode it up to Philly, and I got off there and took a bus up to New York, and I caught the Moore-Mac Elm down to South America. I got an electrician's job. So I went ahead and made that trip. I was gone about 2 months, and come back and went up to Chicago, and bought me some new clothes, some new suitcases. Went on back down to New Orleans, and it was during Mardi Gras. And so I got this little tiny room. It was about a 8 by 10 room. Looked like a closet more than it looked like a room. And I put all my suitcases in there. I had a couple of suitcases and some clothes on the hanger I got out of the cleaners. And I went down to the hall, which wasn't too far from there, walking distance. And I looked on the board, and there's a Texaco, New Jersey. And I think, I wonder if all my stuff's still on. I wonder if my guitar's still on there. So I got a cab and went across the river and went on there, and sure enough, it was all still there. So I got it and put it in the cab and took it back to my little tiny room. And so that gave me about 5 suitcases and a guitar and clothes on the hanger. So boy, I was really loaded down. And so I went back down to the hall, and they had an electrician's job on there. Well, I throwed in on it and got it. So I got me another cab, and I took all them suitcases and my guitar, and it was on a long dock, and the cab couldn't go down the dock. He had to park up the end of the dock, and I had to carry all that stuff all the way down to the gangway, which was about midway of the ship. And so I went down. I had 2 suitcases. You know, most seamen only carry 1 suitcase. So they'd be on watch. He said, "Boy, you're traveling kind of heavy." I said, "Yeah." I said, I got quite a bit of stuff this trip. So I took it on in and put it up. And I went back out, and I got 2 more suitcases. And when I went by him this time, he just looked at me. And I put them in my room, and I went back down, and I got my other suitcase and a guitar and the clothes on the hanger. And I come back up, and he didn't say nothing that time. So I took them on in and put them up, and I went back by him. I was going ashore that time, after I got everything put away. And I was going ashore, but I told him, I said, "Well, I got to go get the rest of that stuff." So I went ahead, and I come back that night, and he ran into me in the mess hall. He said, "I waited up there for 2 hours for you to bring the rest of that stuff back." And he said, you got more stuff than anybody I ever seen." I said, "Yeah." I said, I told him the story about how I accumulated all of it. So that's when I wrote this little song. Was during that time. It's when I finally got my room at Sabine Pass Hotel, and I'll sing it for you. I got a troubled mind, everything I do is wrong. Yeah, my rent is due, I'm getting low on food, and my money's all gone. Stranded in this town, a girl I can't afford. I hit a bad luck streak, and missed my ship last week, and all my clothes is on the floor. Gonna make another call at the Union Hall. It's the last one they have today. Got a tanker here steaming, needs ordinary seamen. That's what I want to hear my dispatcher say. Then I'll be gone again, like a wild, wild wind. We get on a liquid night, but you put city lights with a lot of gas. hotel flop to the shrimp boat dock, from the barroom to the hall. I make my rounds every day, but it's needless to say, I end up waiting on that 4 o'clock call. I never fail to see some rookie cop watching me, and it racks my mind to think that I might end up in the plate on a charge that they can see. Gonna make another call at the Union Hall. It's the last one there today. Got a tanker here steaming, needs an ordinary seaman. That's what I want to hear my dispatcher say. Then I'll be gone again, like a wild, wild wind, to get on a liquor ride, city lights with a lot of cash to spend. I call that the Union Hall Blues.